Welcome, my name is Bill Bissett. I'm an alumnus of Marshall University, and it's my great pleasure today to have my friend Red Dawson join us today. Red is...
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you here.
Well,
if you're a Marshall graduate, if you're connected to Marshall anyway, you know the name Red Dawson. And what we'd like to do is talk a little bit about not only you, but also the Young Thundering Herd and your life from 1971 moving forward a little bit if we could. What got you into football? How did you start with football? How did you decide, one day I want to, obviously you played college level, you've played in the pros, you've coached. How did all that begin?
well, my dad was 5'7.5", and he had it in his mind that I was going to play football or be a boxer, whichever I wanted. And I thought it through, and it looked like it was a football career. That might have been easier, I guess. And I didn't have any choice on Pee-wee, football, or junior high, high school, right into college at Florida State, and into the pros. And I think it was maybe the second week in 1968, second day of 1968. I drove up here because Perry Moss had taken the job as a head football coach.
Even before the plane crash, these were difficult days for Marshall football and winning, obviously. We were not a very good team.
They lost more games in the last 5 years than any school in the nation.
Oof.
I think I'm right on that.
Wow.
It was hard times. Marshall thought heavily about dropping the football program because it's an expensive deal.
It is. Obviously, 1971. Today we're 50th anniversary of the Young Thundering Herd. Talk a little bit about, obviously there was a young team, freshmen, sophomores. Talk a little bit about trying to instill confidence in them. Obviously you mentioned the team was not a winning team, even before the tragedy. But with the tragedy, how did you inspire those young people to come here and put their career with Marshall?
The same way that we always recruited, I think. We just, you tell them what we can do, and we're not going to do anything illegal, but we will make sure that you're fed well, and you'll know more football when you leave here. Bear Bryant called me on the phone one time. He in the recruiting program, and said that he had four black athletes that were absolutely as fine of ability as you could find anywhere. And he says, now I can help you recruit these guys if you want me to. If you want to come down here, and I'll show you around, and then, but I can't recruit for you. And so that's what we did. We went over there, and we had Florzell Horton and Freddie Wilson, Reggie Oliver. Joe Hood was up till that time in my life, Joe Hood was the best college running back I've ever seen.
Wow.
And Reggie Oliver had come in, a great, I say a great person, great football player, and he really, if you know Reggie Oliver, you like him.
Nope. Yep.
You can't get away from him without liking him. But I don't think some of the teams that Marshall had been playing thought we could start the program back up. It wasn't long before we You know, the first time we beat anyone after the game, the second game after the, you know, that the next season there, and the place went crazy.
Let's talk about the Xavier game, because
Yeah.
again, as a Marshall fan, we all know it, and it's a wonderful story. Talk about the stress going into that game, and then I'd like to talk about the game itself. But what was the pressure like for that team to do well?
Well, I don't think, you know, nobody expected Marshall probably to win any games that first year. And to have won the second game
Right.
was unbelievable. You couldn't write a story about it after what all we had been through, and then the place went nuts.
Let's talk about that game, because the ending of the game, both what I've read about it and in the film, is my favorite part. Talk about that last play, who called that play. Talk about that important ending of that game, which is real. I can almost play it in my head, even though I wasn't there.
Well, we've been playing a split offensive line. Everybody split as far as you could, and the Lanny Steed had caught 2 or 3 faking going to the corner, and then just drag right under the middle and find an opening there. Stop if you wanted to, if you wanted to keep going. And we had made some real good plays on that. And so we called 213 bootleg screen.
But Reggie was quarterback.
Yeah, and drug Lanny Steed across over there, and he had 4 defensive backs running with him. Nobody out here. Flipped the ball over to the boy from Portsmouth, caught it, and as soon as he caught it, he turned around and started running, and he had a grin on his face. That was almost unbelievable.
He knew he'd won the game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Reggie won it. Everybody won it.
There's a great photo of
Yep.
him running in the end zone, I remember
Yep.
too. It's really powerful.
That's probably one of the biggest excitements of my football career.
What was it like to go from the Xavier win, which is an amazing story,
Yeah.
to the Miami loss, where they just
I
pummeled
think,
you?
I think we got off to a slow, well, it wasn't even a slow start. I think we might have fumbled the first 2 or 3 times we had possession, and it just, you know, everybody just was ready to throw the hands up.
Once you were done coaching here, talk about why your roots are here in Huntington. Talk about why you came back here, started a business. What is it about Huntington?
Well, I got married in Huntington, and I started working construction with a friend of mine, Willis Wilson, had Wilson Construction Company, and I had a little argument about something, and he says, well, we're going to do it the way we want to do it. If you don't like it the way we're doing it, start your own company up. And that put an idea in my mind. You know, how do you get started? You know, so I talked to some people, and we got started. And it's been a long, hard pull, but we got going in the construction business. I started my own company, and you know, it's just been a good life up here.
Excellent.
I'm not going to say I never thought about going back to Valdosta, Georgia, or even Tallahassee. I go down there and visit. That's good enough for me, and I love West Virginia.
Let's talk a little bit about the film in 2006, We Are Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I find most interesting in your life, and I've never asked you about this, what was it like to meet an actor who was going to play you in the film?
Very, very strange. It really was. And I think he felt about the same way because, you know, he was asking me questions. What, you know, tell me some of this or that, you know, when you're talking. And it was, that whole time they were here, it was very strange.
Were you happy with his performance?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very, very good.
I was. I think he did a real, I think all of them did a good job. I mean, if you're a football fan, athletic fan, football, you know, it's a perfect movie.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out good, you know.
It's a great story.
Yeah, it is. Great story. Didn't have to add something. You just didn't have to do it. It was there.
Let me ask you a little bit of a tougher question. I've heard you say once that the making of the film helped you with some spiders and snakes you had on your head.
That's right.
From the crash, which I think is a very powerful statement. If you don't mind, talk to us a little bit about that. How did making the We Are Marshall film and your connection to that kind of help you deal with all that you had to deal with?
Well, it was, first off, it was several years after the plane had crashed. And, you know, I had been through everybody that was part of the team or the school, or everybody was having trouble. Why, you know, almost like that song, Why Me, Lord?
Mm-hmm.
Why Marshall? I had a hard time with that. But the movie helped a lot.
Not to dwell on this, but I always think I got to know Reggie Oliver, not as well as you, but I got to know him.
Great guy.
And so enjoyed getting to know him
Yeah.
during the film and all that, and when he would come back to campus. And he always said that basically when you go through what you all went through, somebody hits you on the arm and say, hey, are you okay? That's about all the, the help you get.
Yeah, that's it.
Explain if someone watching today is dealing with a tragedy, if they're dealing with something probably not as heavy as what you dealt with, but they're going through something.
Yeah.
What advice or lesson do you take from all that you experienced that you would want someone to know that might help them?
The Lord taketh, and the Lord giveth. He took that day. I'm not going to tell you what a good Christian I am, but I'm a strong believer, and I have faith. So I'm not going to second guess the old master.
You wrote a book.
Yes, I did. And it was true.
That's a good thing.
I never bragged on it.
Tell me about writing the book. You obviously had someone who wrote it with you. You called it A Coach in Progress.
Yeah.
Marshall University, a story of survival and revival. Why A Coach in Progress?
Because I think I'd lost my desire to coach. I'd been through enough football games and you know, I just had enough. I'd like, and that $668 a month wasn't going to do me, you know.
I understand.
And I was mad with everybody for a while. Marshall, Everybody. But I got over it. I'm back.
You are back, and
I mean, this is my home.
it is.
It isn't Valdosta, Georgia anymore.
When I see you at a game, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
You know, one, I'm lucky enough to know Red Dawson, but I'm glad you're there. What's it like to go to a Marshall game now for you? Is it easier to attend a game now?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I don't have to remember what they did on third and what down, or whether they passed the ball, ran the ball, or what.
So, Red, we mentioned earlier that it's been 50 years since the Young Thundering Herd, since Reggie Oliver, since the Xavier win. Talk about Herd Rising. Talk about how you have seen from your vantage point the university change, but also your connection with it.
Well, the biggest change was we don't have to go to Fairfield Stadium anymore for a football game. But that is a Class I stadium there. That's the university invested into the future. And when they built that stadium.
So if you went back to the Red Dawson of 1971 and said, you're going to be playing in a stadium with 40,000 people, you're going to have players going to the Hall of Fame, you're going to be winning championships, could Red have believed that, the 1971 Red Dawson?
Well, it'd be hard to.
I bet.
I'm pretty gullible, but I've been told a lot of lies before, but that would have been a big one.
Red, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you sharing not only your story, but the story of the Young Thundering Herd.
Well, I enjoy talking football. I enjoy talking to Marshall people. I enjoy the town of Huntington, and that's why nobody's been able to keep me out of Huntington and Marshall, so I guess that's a good plus.
It is a good plus. We appreciate you a lot, Red. Thank you.
Well, thank you.